Hello again. We're going to take a little break this evening. We've been studying and looking at how to find greatest common factors and least common multiples. And tonight I thought we'd stop and start looking at our fractions, actually. Now in 5th grade we start with the improper fractions and mixed numbers, but I like to do a review with the kids of everything we've studied up to this point in 3rd grade and 4th grade as they've come to the 5th grade level. And it's always good to go back and look at the definitions again, look at the correct vocabulary. So I thought I would take just a few minutes and do a vocabulary review of our fraction words. And best place to start is, of course, with a definition of what is a fraction. So you saw as we started here a title screen that gave a definition for a fraction, and it was a very complex definition, I guess. It wasn't simplified or explained, but it gives us a start. It said a fraction is the comparison of a part with a whole. And what that really means is we're taking a whole object, be a Hershey's bar that you're splitting up, a bag of M&Ms, it could be a piece of pipe in your house that you're cutting up, whatever it is. It could be the garden tools at your local hardware store being broken into their groups. Regardless, it's taking a group or a whole object and saying we're going to part it out into equal sized or equal numbered parts. So, for example, if I have a pie and I'm going to cut it into 4 pieces, we're saying, okay, I had that whole pie and I'm going to reduce it down to 4 pieces. Now, altogether, those 4 pieces still make up the pie. But if I only eat one of those pieces, then I ate a fraction of that whole amount. And so that's what we're going to be looking at tonight, some key vocabulary we need to have with fractions, and just to get a general feel again for what a fraction is all about. So that's my goal. Let's see what we can do with that. Okay, before I go on here, I'm going to apologize. I've been fighting a terrible cold, so rather than constantly stopping and starting over, I may grab just a little drink of water or pop here just to keep my throat going. But I wanted to next look at the numerator and denominator, which are 2 terms the kids need to know in order to really talk about fractions. So we put together an example for you here, and we'll grab our handy dandy notebook as the kids and I look at it, and we see right away, we see the fraction 1/3 with 1 on the top and 3 on the bottom. 1 is our numerator, 3 is our denominator. And if we look back at that definition we just read in the title screen, the denominator, the number on the bottom here, that actually is an indicator of with one whole object. And the key here is one whole object, and we'll talk about that in a moment, that it has been divided or broken up into 3 equal parts or 3 groups of equal value. And then the numerator, the 1, simply means I'm using one of them. So if, for example, we have 3 windows and one of them gets broken, 1/3 of our windows are broken. 1 out of the 3 windows. If you go to the store, and this is an example I use with the kids, and I'm sorry, we'll get it on screen there. And you look at the gardening tools, and this is the group of gardening tools. So the overall group is gardening tools. And we see they have rakes, shovels, and hoes. 1/3 of the gardening tools are actually rakes. You'll have to excuse the drawings, of course. So numerator and denominator, very simply saying denominator again, here's the number of pieces that this one whole object has been divided into. Numerator, how many am I using? So if I divide a pie into 4 pieces, my denominator would be 4ths. And if I ate 2 of them, I will have eaten 2/4 of the pie. So that's numerator and denominator. Let's look at our next term. Okay, so we're looking at 2 definitions now, and really what we're going to look at is something I think everyone's going to recognize as being what we think of when we hear the word fraction. The first term, a simple fraction, simply means a fraction that has a numerator, a denominator, and no other whole numbers or anything else in there with them. It is the basic fraction that we're used to seeing. And then the term unit fraction simply means a simple fraction that has a numerator with a value of 1. And the value of 1 in that numerator is so important because when it comes time to start looking at simplifying fractions, which we simplify fractions just to actually make them easier to understand or comprehend. The smaller you can get their numbers that you have in the fraction, the easier it is to picture that in your head and see it. So when we talk later in another video about how to simplify fractions, how to reduce them down to an equivalent fraction of same value but a easier number to comprehend, unit fraction is like the ultimate goal. The kids love unit fractions. Unit fractions will have a 1 in the numerator and they'll have another number in the denominator. They might have 2 for like 1/2, 1/3 with a 3 in the denominator, 1/4, 1/5, 1/6, 1/7, and that goes on forever. But getting it down to the unit fraction, if you can get 1 in the numerator, you're in simplest form because ones can't be reduced anymore. As far as whole numbers, they're the bottom of the group. You can't reduce a 1. So it's really great when you can actually get a number down to that unit fraction. So again, that's a simple fraction, which is what we're really used to seeing every day. That's that normal fraction you think of when you hear the word fraction. And then a unit fraction, which is a special simple fraction where the numerator is 1. So 2 more terms we need to know, and let's look at some more.